Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, ladies.
Hello. How's everybody?
Oh, listen. So, on behalf of More Books, I would like to thank you all for coming out tonight and those who are watching. Listen, this is something that we just decided we're going to do because we are book lovers, and I can't ever do things haphazardly or do them by myself. So I brought 3 of my amazing friends with me tonight, and our new friend, Miss Vanessa Rodgers Tracy, and she has a new book, Ushered Yet Abandoned, and this book is phenomenal. I really couldn't put it down because I didn't expect any of this. When Comia and I met you, we had no idea that this was behind you. You know, you're so humbled and quiet and poised and just standing there like, I'm Melanie's mom, and everything was sweet. And I was like, she's more than Melanie's mom. This lady is the author. She done did this. She done did that. So before we get into that, I want to introduce my amazing friends. We have none other than TV host and author Comia Flynn of FlynnStyle.
Hello, ladies. How is everybody doing this evening? I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. And then, of course, we have the fashionista herself who appropriately dressed for the guest of honor tonight. We have First Lady and Community Leader who's also an author, Stephanie Aiken-Cummings.
Hello, everyone. So honored and so blessed to be here, and I'm excited.
All right. And so we all know from what we've read, because everybody has been like, oh my God, we got Miss Vanessa coming on, Miss Vanessa coming on. I see her on TV. And we were also excited from what we see on OWN and what we see on Love and Marriage, but you're so much more than that. You are an author of a wonderful book. What made you write this book? Before we even go into it, what kind of headspace were you in? Because it's always lights, camera, action. When did you have time to sit down and say, you know what, let me unpack and do this?
Well, I actually started on this book 3 years prior to the show. So the book was something that was already in the works before the show. And I tell everyone that the first draft was me writing from a place of hurt. Mm-hmm. And the second draft was me writing from a place of starting to heal. And what everyone is able to purchase today is a woman who is writing from a place where she has healed and she's moved over to the other side and she found a better version of herself.
I know that's right. And speaking of, you guys, you want an autograph copy. So you want to go to her website, which she is going to plug all night long. And you need to get this book. This book is awesome. And we just going to dive right into it. Listen, the first chapter took me when you were talking about before the mask and you were talking about the chastity band. Now, we're not going to give y'all all the nuggets. But you're going to and go quick. But the book is phenomenal. And we're all women. And we're talking about different things that we really don't realize what strengths we can pull from each other and how we all go through similar things without realizing that we're going through similar things. So tell us the mask part, because we all can relate to wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. We all can.
Yes. So, but when I was penning the book, I came up with the mask because I realized that during this certain point in my life, I had become someone who was no longer herself. Mm-hmm. I was controlled by everyone else and what everyone expected for me to be. And I was unable to show my true feelings and what I was truly going through because everyone looked to me to sort of inspire. So while I was inspiring everyone else, I was losing myself in the process. Mm. And that's the mask. You know, I got up on Sunday mornings and I was in the service with my husband, supporting him. And it became because the person that I was up praising on Sunday morning was not the person that I was taking home with me on Sundays.
Mm. Wow.
Understood. And see, it can go twofold because First Lady Aiken-Cummings, she is a first lady as well, but she is engaged, like her husband, they sang, the children sang. So you get to see it from both perspectives. But before I go to her, Comia, we've all worn a mask. So I'm not singling you out, but we've all worn a mask. But can you tell us a time where you've worn a mask and nobody even knew you had a mask on?
But it's funny. I had the mask on and a person recognized it. That's the funny thing. And I wasn't even aware. You just kind of keep moving and doing throughout the day. I'll never forget, I was walking through the mall and my cousin, he's a pastor, and he said, as I was walking towards him, I had a smile on my face, but he said, my eyes were saying to him, help me, get me out of this. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea that that's what I was looking like. So apparently I was wearing a mask the entire time while I was in that particular relationship. And I was like, good God, you just never know. You don't even think about what you look like. You just do what is expected or what you think it is expected of you. Absolutely. So, yeah, I can relate to that. Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, do you see a lot of mask wearing in your position?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's easy to hide who we are because everyone wants to appear to be perfect. And especially when you're in the role of a first lady, you're expected to be poised. You're expected to not have issues. You're expected to be Superwoman or Superman as pastors. And most people, not hate to say most people, but there were times that we do go through. And there are times when you have to put on a mask just to make it through, through the day. And so I see it all of the time. And I've been blessed to be able to not have to go through what a lot of first ladies do go through because my husband is absolutely amazing.
And he is absolutely an amazing singer. I don't know him like that, but he's an absolutely amazing person. They are an amazing family. And that leads me back to you, Ms. Tracy, when you were talking about, you had a pin line in there that said, I was becoming a stranger to the woman in the mirror. And when I read that, I had to take a pause because over the course of my life, I was one way to the masses, to social media, to people, to whatever. But behind the scenes, I was like, I don't even know this girl. Like I had morphed into something. It was similar to what Comia said. Mm-hmm. Someone told me, you're going through a metamorphosis. Like you're changing your hair, you're changing your look. I don't know what to expect from you. And so when I read that line, how did you combat that? How did you come out from being that stranger?
When I looked in the mirror and I no longer saw who I wanted to be or who I had known myself to be, that's when I knew I had to make a change. I had to do something different. I had to start living in my truth, regardless of what that looked like. And I wanted the transition to be one that was going to be a smooth transition because we were, so to say, spiritual mothers and fathers of a new ministry that we had started together. And 90% of our congregation were people that we won off the street. So I tell everyone that my marriage failing, it hurt. It truly did. But what hurt me more was the fact that those people that we had birthed no longer had a place to call home.
Wow.
They no longer had mom and dad together again. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I became another part of that blemish in the church, where people, they already have their own personification of who they think we are and how we act. But I didn't want to put that blemish there. So that hurt me, I think, more than the marriage failing, if that makes any sense, because my marriage was more than a marriage. It was my groundwork for God, so to speak. And I felt like I had failed in that some way until God released me from it.
Mm.
Wow. Any of you? That was heavy.
That really was.
Wow. Oh man. So a lot of times I feel like as women, we stay in situations, and I don't necessarily mean a relationship, but we just stay in situations haphazardly. It could be a job, it could be friendships or whatnot. We stay in them haphazardly because of the ripple effects of us walking away. When you said that, you know, the loss of a mother and a father, I felt that I'm a divorcee. I'm happily married now, but I still know the ripple effects of getting a divorce. I know how it affects our friendships. I know how it affects my children. And so when you said that, as women, sometimes we are the face of happiness to some people, or we are the face of success. And little do they know, you feel like throwing in the towel, but now you're thinking, if I quit, how many more other people are going to quit as a result of me just not having a good day? I'm just not having a good day, but my not having a good day could turn into someone else not having a good life or a good year or whatnot like that. So that stranger that you saw, it almost metaphorically sound like it wasn't a stranger in yourself. You knew who you were. It was just you had impressed so much upon people that now you were trying to figure out, how do I go back to me without losing them?
Yeah, I guess that's a very good way of saying it, because like I said, my main concern was the people that were going to be affected by this, you know, by us not being together. And unfortunately, you know, in a lot of cases, you know, even when the First Lady is up ministering to the congregation is more beholden to the pastor, you know, and when their relationships dissolve, guess who goes?
Right.
The First Lady. But like I said, in this case, because we both had birthed people off the street, they loved us both. And so it sort of put them in a tug of war. And, you know, a lot of them did want to keep contact with me. And he didn't want that because he felt like it would divide the church that he was trying to keep. I think not understanding that it wouldn't be able to stand anyway unless it was done properly. And he allowed God to maneuver him into how to keep the people loyal and loving what they had become a part of, even if the First Lady wasn't there. You know, I could have sat there under that ministry. I think I could have sat there under that ministry and still have been productive if him and I were at a place where we could respect each other after the fact. But, you know, it was going to take some time for that too, because I was very loyal to what I was teaching. If I couldn't be loyal to it, I couldn't teach it. And so I tried to make sure that I was trying with all my might to live what I was teaching. Amen. And to let other people see that in me. So they, you know, would say, well, hey, if First Lady can do it, I can do it. You know, but the good thing I can say about the congregation is because we had birthed them, you know, from the beginning, they sort of knew me because I allowed them to see me.
Right.
You know, they weren't already in church. They weren't already sitting under the word so much that they had this high expectation of me. So it was easy for me to sort of be myself with them starting out.
That's interesting. Do you think a lot of women suffer in silence that are first ladies? I feel like sometimes the wives have to carry the weight of the world. When you're a first lady in church, and sometimes I watch different ministers' wives, I feel like they have to carry so much. You have to deal with different personalities and all these other things kind of wrapped up into one. And I think they expect you to just kind of sit and take it all in, whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent. And listen, I don't know if I could hold on to that. I don't know. I'd really have to hold my mule every Sunday. It's a lot. And people don't realize you're literally carrying the weight of the world on you as the first lady. It's a lot. It's a lot. So how did you deal with that, even within the ministry and going through your divorce? What was that like for you? If you could paint a picture for us, what was it like for you?
I think it was easy for me to be the first lady because, like I said, our congregation was birthed off the street, people that weren't in church. So
Okay.
it was easy for me to sort of be the first lady. I mean, a lot of them, the only thing they knew of a first lady was what they saw in me.
Gotcha.
So, they didn't have anything to really compare me to, per se.
Right.
And that's what I say, it made it very easy for me to be myself from the beginning. But, I take my hat off, to first ladies and, first ladies who are also pastors, working the gospel right there next to their husbands and stuff, because it's a job. It's a job. And you truly have to be called into it and have a passion for it to work.
See, Stephanie is nodding her head.
It's the truth. It is the absolute truth. I am a 6th generation preacher. So my mom and dad pastor, my grandparents, my great grandparents, and it goes on for generations. So I've watched marriages, in ministry my entire life. And one of the things that my mom always taught me was to be slow to speak, because when you're in this position, you have to be humble. I mean, there's a level of humility that first ladies and pastors walk in that everybody can't walk in. And just like Ms. V said, you have to be called to this. And if you're going to be effective in ministry, if you're going to be effective as a first lady, as a pastor, you have to be called to it. It's absolutely impossible to do it if you're not called.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like you, Comia. I pray harder for the first family,
right,
than I do
Amen.
for the pastor, because you've been called, but we over here, we came with you. It's almost like one of those things. And so I don't know. I feel like Comia sometimes, and then sometimes I'm just like, it is what it is. But I like your point of view of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was easy for you to be a first lady because you are a lady. Your whole demeanor, your whole poise, and everything is that of the essence of a lady. So it's not, you weren't out of character with that. You just didn't want to be in that position. And a lot of times we put pressure on titles. You just wanted to be a minister, be an outlet to these people. You didn't necessarily want all that comes with it. It's almost like, let me get the definition of first lady, or let me get the definition of Christian, or let me get the definition, because people will put you in these boxes where it's hard for you to be relatable and be human, because now it's just like Stephanie said, they're expecting you to be superwoman and superman. So it's very difficult to do that. But I want to shift, because it was something you said and it made me think about when you spoke to, how did I even get in this position? Like, how did I fall for a broken man? And when I read this, I actually called Comia screaming. And I said, Comia!
She did.
She said, if I didn't read anything else, I read that. And it's not necessarily to a specific situation or where you are in life now, because sometimes when you speak to things, even when you post things, people think you're talking about present day.
Right.
But when you said, how could I fall for a broken man, you meant like, I know what I see on Sunday, and I know what you all are hearing, and I know that, the gift of the call is without repentance. So he has that, but you don't understand that I married a human being, and this human being is dealing with some things that may be past, present, future, whatever, but that's who I have. I don't necessarily have Reverend so-and-so and so in my home. I have Mr. so-and-so and so. So what did you mean by the broken piece?
Well, the title of my book, Ushered Yet Abandoned, The Mask of a First Lady. My Minister Viv, and I'm going to use some of the names of the characters in the book just to make reference to, her husband was so good at ushering her in the presence of the Lord, but he had abandoned her in so many other ways. And because of his ability to usher her in the presence of the Lord, and that part of him is what drew her so deeply into him. When she saw that other part that was broken, it sort of baffled her, so to speak. You know, she had been a minister for years. She was an associate minister for a Baptist ministry prior to marrying him. So she had overcome a lot of the stigmas, you know, because some people just, the older generation just didn't believe in a woman being in the pulpit. But she was able, you know, to win over some of those naysayers because they saw the truth in her and saw how genuine she was in what she was doing. So whenever she saw this other side of him that wasn't what she was seeing spiritually, it was very baffling, because in her mind it lined up, all of it lined up. What you see is what you see all the time. There wasn't an off and on, but yeah, that was very baffling to her, and she wrestled with that a lot. And it became very hard for her to go out before the congregation on Sunday morning and pump up everybody and open up the service for this man and talk about how awesome he was. And she knew that prior to that, maybe 30 minutes earlier, she was dealing with a broken man.
Wow.
Wow. Ladies, we're jumping in this broken.
I had in chapter 3, because this line kind of just stuck out to me. In chapter 3, you said something that just kind of stuck. And it says, the only time he was in my life was when something was going wrong in his. Unbeknownst to me, I had become addicted to being his savior. That blessed me. Because I talked to so many women who are in that predicament, not just first ladies that are dealing with pastors, but so many women get with men and they are addicted to trying to make them better, or addicted to trying to make it work or make it last. And right when you said, unbeknownst to me, I had become addicted to be that thing just, it blessed me. It blessed me.
See, you should have called me and screamed that in the phone.
I should have called you and screamed. Shoot, I'm trying to see who all I need to buy this book for.
But you know what? That's the truth, because as women, we are motherly. And sometimes we take on a man per se, or anything, as a project, and we feel like, oh, I can clean it up, I can make it better, and before we know it, we switch roles from being the wife, the girlfriend, the friend, the etc., to now we're the mother, and we become mother hen. And it is baffling as to how many of us take on situations that we don't have to take on. It's almost like, why? That
is natural for us because we're nurturers.
Absolutely.
And what happens is you can't date them and fix them at the same time.
Ooh, that's good.
Nuggets.
Yeah, can't do that. You cannot date them and fix them at the same time. But we, as nurturing people that we are, that's what women do. So we feel like, oh, okay. And you see, sometimes we see the bricks being thrown and we just kind of be like, oh, well, maybe that I can work with that. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that was another one, but it's going to be all right. And it's going to get better. We convince ourselves that it's going to get better. And then by the time we see the full screen of what's going on, it's like, oh my God, who did I actually marry, or who am I actually dating? Because you have to think about it also, when you meet this man, you're meeting the representative. The real person hasn't even shown up yet.
Right.
In the good part.
And sometimes the representative stays around a lot longer than the real person before the real person even shows up. Because the representative is like, okay, I like being the representative for a while. It feels good until they can't control it. After a while, it turns into like some Tourette's, like Michael Jackson with the little ticks.
The thriller.
After a while, yeah, the full thriller unleashes itself. And you're like, oh my God, you know, how did I get in this place? And I think we as women have all shared this type of emotion, what Ms. V is talking about. We've all dated the broken man. Some of us have even married the broken man, and we still try to fix them, even in the marriage or even within dating. We feel like, you know, he's good. He just has some little issues, but you just can't do the same. And it's not to say that, you know, I'm not gonna say a bad man, but he's just not the man for me.
Right.
And sometimes we have to realize that and move on, you know. Yeah, but it can be very interesting, definitely.
Wow. So I'm gonna skip further than you because we can't give all the nuggets away. Don't forget, you guys need to get your book. we holding a conversation because we've read this book, but you guys need to get your book. But I'm gonna skip to chapter 8 when you were talking about white flags, and I'm gonna tell you, Miss Tracy, I laughed because everybody was talking about red flags, and I was like, everybody's talking about red flags, and then I get to chapter 8, and you're talking about white flags. But can you briefly, without giving away your nuggets, talk to us about the white flags?
Well, I think it goes back to what was previously said. You know, we sort of see those warning signs, but then we make them something that we're not actually seeing. So the red flags, they sort of become white flags. and we think it's something that, you know, if we support them enough, if we love them enough, if they know I'm not gonna walk away like everybody else has.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow it'll bring out the best in them because you believe it's there. You've seen it at some point. But, you know, I think sometimes because we are filled with empathy as women, and like she said, we're a nurturer. God made us that way. And me, I'm an optimist. So I'm always looking for the good in every situation, everything, every person. But sometimes being an optimist can be bad for you.
Right.
If you don't also learn how to be a realist. And that's something I had to learn to be, that although I was an optimist, I also had to learn to be a realist, because by not doing that, it made me very gullible to a lot of things. And that's something, you know, that I brought out to me on the other side when I say I found a better version of myself.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
That was. I think a lot of women, I won't say we suffer from it, but I think we all deal with this in our lives. I think we all feel like, well, you know, I'm the woman that can take this on. Like we put on our superhero cape in relationships and we feel like, okay, I'm the one that can handle this. I can make it work. And even though it's like, do you feel like sometimes we just naturally do that? I think sometimes, and I'm not going to say all the time, I just feel like we as women, if you see this man that might have been in a previous relationship with someone else, and then when he gets to you, it's like, oh, honey, well, he's not going to be that way with me. I know I can fix it. We feel like we have these superpowers that can morph them into somebody who they really aren't.
I think it goes with age and experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you get to a certain age in your life, my daddy used to always say, the Eve tell what the Christmas gonna be. So if he wasn't working so much with her, he'd go do too much working over here. I think a lot of times, like I said, it comes with age and experience.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like that's a task that you're willing to take on, then you do so. But I don't think in this day and age, post-COVID era, because you know we have AD, then we have BC, and now we have PC. So post-COVID era, you can't afford to put yourself in a situation to prove a point to somebody else.
Right.
We don't have that kind of time. I mean, we're at 700,000 strong. So every day is precious and every moment matters. And you don't have that kind of time to spend showing an X what you can do for the next, because you might be next. Right. You might be the next victim. You just never know.
Yeah, I don't think we settle as much. I don't think we settle as much anymore. We're more, like you said, Teia, we have more experiences now as we are older. Because I'm in my 50s, proud to say. But I feel like with experience, you just don't accept a lot of things anymore. And some people might say, oh, you're so picky, you're so choosy. Well, no, I'm not going to settle in because I feel like I'm worth more now. Now, maybe at 25, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll deal with that. And then it depends on where you are in your life mentally. We all go through stages in our life where we are mentally at that time. And sometimes then we're drawn to certain people, like, you know, they are broken because maybe even on the inside, I might have been broken.
Right.
You know? And I probably attracted a broken person to me because that's where I was at that time in my life. But then once you kind of get things together, and like she said, then I can see myself in the mirror, truly see it. It's like, oh, wait a minute. No, I'm better than this. I deserve much better than this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Miss Tracy, what kind of, for the young women or just women in general who are watching this tonight, and of course they're going to get the book, what would you tell them if you were speaking to your younger self and pretend your younger self is watching you right now? What would you tell her based off of this book?
Well, I want to hear from the First Lady. I want to hear from the First Lady. I know we're here to talk about my book, but I want to hear from her too.
She has awesome perspective. She's quiet
from all of us.
No lie, I have been texting people all day regarding this book because it blessed me so much. And the reason why it blessed me is because, I mean, this is real life. There are first ladies who are really going through this. I mean, they are really going through being at church and putting on a mask and looking like they have it all together, being made up, but then going home and literally catching hell. Mm-hmm. And so I empathize for them because I've talked to them, I've prayed with them, I've been with them, I've advised them, I've counseled them. And so reading it on the pages is a whole nother story. And it blessed me so much. It blessed me so much. And I'm encouraging anyone, look, go to more books, llc.com, and make sure you get you a copy.
And Miss Tracy, tell them how they can get an autograph copy. Because More Books doesn't have an autograph copy.
Okay, if you would like to get an autograph copy of Usher Yet Abandon the Mask of a First Lady, go to www.vanessarodtracy.com, and you're able to order the book on there, and then my team will let me know the ones that I need to autograph and who I need to get those out to.
Yes. Y'all better get this book. I'm so serious. This is a very good, and it was an easy read. It was almost like, okay, you pick it up and now you can't put it down. So
absolutely,
you don't have to feel like I don't have time. You have time to read this because it didn't, I'm not a first lady. So I read it from the perspective of a woman. I took the title out of it and I read it from the perspective of a woman because it was relatable in certain instances. You talk about the broken man, you talk about the mask and all of those things. I read it from that place. So I don't want you out there to feel as though, well, I'm not a first lady, so this doesn't apply to me. If you are a woman, a young woman, a middle woman, a older woman, etc., black, white, indifferent, this book can meet you exactly where you are. Mm-hmm. Exactly where you are.
That's true.
Wow. Stephanie. Look at her eyes.
Because I enjoyed this book so much. No, there was a part in the book where you said that he told you, or he said to Viv that he didn't like a big woman. That thing, it irked me. I'm like, wait a minute. See, Comia, you with me? See, you understand? He said, I don't like a big woman. And and you said, I'm thinking, hey, I'm smaller than I was when he married me, but all of a sudden now, and then he waited until you were taking your clothes off or taking to say that I don't like a big woman. And so many women deal with already insecurities. But for the man that you say that you love, and for a man that says that he loves you, to basically reaffirm your insecurities, I mean, I can't imagine. Can you just kind of reiterate on that a little bit, just to kind of give us some insight?
Well, the funny thing is, I was never insecure about, my size. I really wasn't. I was pleased with myself. Does everyone have a little something that they like to change? Of course, but it was nothing so major that it made me insecure in any way. I think what bothered me more was the fact that if I was smaller than I was the day we got married, and now all of a sudden it's a problem for you. And I say this in the book, what are you looking at? What are you comparing me to that makes me less appealing to you now? Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because once I did reclaim who I was and I started moving again, well, as Minister Viv started moving again as her individual self and a woman who was chasing after God's heart instead of her husband's heart or her ex-husband's heart, I actually went and I ate a meal. This is about a year later now.
And enjoy
I
it.
actually went in a restaurant and I sat down and I ate a meal by myself and I didn't feel any kind of way. And I remember coming to my sister and telling her, Renee, I'm getting free. I enjoyed a meal by myself and I wasn't worried about, I shouldn't be putting this in my mouth, or, you know, someone looking at me and saying, look at you eating, you know, because I was never insecure like that. And that's one of the things that I saw when I looked in that mirror and I saw myself no longer being the person that I was. You know, I had lost that part of loving all of me, and it had become consumed by what someone else wanted me to be instead of who I truly was and who I loved.
Now, Miss Vanessa, I got a secret. The reason why Comia doesn't have her book is because when she read that part, she threw it. No, I'm serious. Because she has a platform about weight and going through that struggle of people putting you in this box where you should be. So when she read that part, I was like, well, Comia, we going live now. You just
I was big man. I was like Medea on the calculator. I was like, I was ready to come to Huntsville and just pick you up and say, come on, honey, let's go get some good old Southern eating. Like,
Come on.
I was so mad. I said, wait a minute, what? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I took it in the reverse because I've always been skinny. And so we don't realize that everybody has their own vice. Everybody has their own issues that they face, and society doesn't help. Because society tells you got to look this one way. They want everybody to look exactly the same, and that's impossible. So then you have to alter yourself and alter who you are to fit the mold of somebody. And then the hurt piece of it is when you change who you are to fit that mold, and they go get somebody who looked like your former self. And you're like, hey, so I was natural. So I didn't wear makeup. So I was skinny. What was the issue? And so when I read that piece, I was like, wow, the last person you want to feel attacked from is the person you're with. That's the last person. You can walk out your door and face your uglies or your lip big or your head big or whatever, or you got big teeth or whatever. You can walk out your door and face that. But to face that with the person that's sharing a pillow with you, that's hurtful because it's almost like, well, why are you here?
But you know, the interesting thing is the person that attacks you, it's not even about you, it's about them, how they feel about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
what I'm seeing a lot of is, and you ladies can, you know, affirm this with me or say, well, no, I don't see that. But men seem to put a lot of emphasis to say on what they want us to be like as women. And when I counsel women, you know, I make sure I let them know, hey, look, you know, first of all, you have to love yourself and you have to know who you are, what your value is, and what you bring to the table. I said, and secondly, I'm sure there are a lot of things that you could say about him that you don't like. But again, because we are nurturers, we don't say it, you know, and we end up taking on a lot of stuff that we really shouldn't take on because we're being empathetic to you and not telling you, hey, well, I really don't like this about you, but we don't say it because we know it's something that they can't change. Right. So I just think that we as people have to be more respectful of each other, you know, and I think to expect something more than what a person have in them, or expect something more of a person, and you're expecting something that they can't change, you're setting them up for failure.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, my eyes are naturally brown. Can I turn them green, blue, purple, pink, or whatever? Yeah, with contact lens. But guess what? I like my brown eyes.
Right.
And so we just have to learn our value and, you know, embrace ourselves and what we like about ourselves. And hopefully we'll meet someone who also loves and embraces that. You know, I can't say that my husband well, I can't say that Minister Bill's husband didn't love her. I think he loved her because he knew she was good for him. Now, was it what he wanted? Apparently not. But he knew she was good for him. And when it got to the point where her just being good for him wasn't enough, that's when the broken man showed up.
Wow. It was almost like you are the perfect candidate for this position. But now I'm no longer interested in the position. I need something else. So then now it erases what you brought to the table and leaves you feeling like, well, I really didn't have much to contribute, unless you are of high esteem. For someone who's of low esteem, they would feel like, well, this is a complete failure. I thought I was doing a good job, not realizing that you were doing a good job. You were just you had the wrong employer in a sense.
Well, and I think Minister Bill's husband wanted the position. He truly wanted to be a pastor because that's all he had known for years, was ministering to people. I just think what was good for him was not the package that he wanted, but he knew it was good for him. And I guess you could say she sort of bought into that in a way, because she had seen them being awesome in the ministry and having an outreach ministry. She knew that he was very, very good at tent revivals, if you guys know what those are. I mean, he could go down in places and grab people and bring them out into the ministry that other people couldn't reach. She's just very gifted at that. And because she has such a passion for people, I think that's what drew her to him. And, you have to read the book to see some other things that drew her to him. But
right, get the book.
Yeah. And I think someone said it earlier, we sort of attract what it is in us that we're looking for. And if it's not genuine, it'll fade away eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, we could talk about this forever, but this last question that I wanted to ask you, we are all mothers of daughters, and you have a very successful daughter, and you guys are doing your thing every Saturday night. Make sure you guys are tuned in every Saturday night. But what would you say your strength that you've seen display in her that carries over? Because you're so compassionate and you're so humble in the way that you carry yourself. But I can see a lot of you in Melanie, in her independence, in her strength. And that's basically how we raise our girls, even though we want them to understand that two work better than one. Remain one and be a strong one so that you'll find another one, in a sense. What would you say to that, just in watching your daughter evolve over the course of the years and piggybacking off the strength that you have given to her?
Well, I think it's easy for me to sort of see her where she's at and understand where she's at, because some of it I have been through. The one thing that I see in her that she has that, I know she had to get from me, and some of it, came from God. She's very resilient.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
She has endured a lot publicly, and she yet thrive. And I tell everyone that, I was asked not too long ago, what was the greatest thing that I think I've done, or the legacy that I leave, to my child? And I said, the knowledge of who God is, and knowing that that's being passed down to my grandbabies. That's my greatest legacy. So I know, me putting that in her at an early age and her still holding on to some of that is what has enabled her to get through some of the stuff that she's had to endure and some of the stuff that she's still enduring. But she's so resilient, and she's very much in tune with who God is and who he is and who she is, that she'll be fine.
Yes. Stephanie, in reading this book, what did you think about as it related to your daughters and, you know, you passing down that legacy just in reading someone else's story?
Just in reading someone else's story, it was, you know, we teach our daughters, just like you said, to be independent, to, you know, always, you know, have their own voice. And a lot of times, my goal is to make sure that I have imparted everything that I can in them so that they don't get caught up into situations, you know, similar to this. And I think that a lot of times we get caught up in the fairy tale land, you know, where we think that everything is going to be, you know, roses and like a Cinderella story. And so there is still a reality to even the Cinderella story. And so I wanted to make sure, and even now, make sure that I imparted my daughters that there's still always, even though they say maybe the grass is green on the other side, where there's still some brown spots in some of that grass. And so I want to make sure that they always know who they are, that they know whose they are, and they know at any time you can always come home.
Absolutely. Same
Always
question,
come home.
Comia. In reading this book and in reading this story and your beloved Taylor, what did you feel was like a transitioning moment for you, for your daughter?
I think it's the same thing. You know, we as mothers do everything we can to try to protect our daughters from going down the rabbit hole in relationships. And, you know, you don't want to tell them too much, but you want to make sure you put them on the right path, things to look out for in relationships with young men so they don't make all of the same mistakes that we've made. But sometimes they will. They have to live and learn. But you just want to make sure you always keep that open line of communication with them, which I do with her all the time. And that's pretty much it. We enjoy communication. That's the main thing, keeping communication open. Yeah, when it comes to her and relationships.
Yeah, and I think for me, my daughter is 11, but I'm very transparent. And sometimes even my mom would say, no, I wouldn't have told her that. But I would rather own my story. No, I always say no one will outtell the truth about me. No one will outtell me in my business.
Right.
So even though she's 11, she's old enough to know that, yes, mommy wish she didn't do that, or mommy's happy she did this. And so that allows her to understand when this situation arises in her life, she could say, wait, my mama told me how this went, and I already, it's almost like the red flags, like we were talking about, that's the white flags. So in reading this story, it helped me to understand that even though you wrote it from the perspective of a first lady, I took it from the perspective of a lady.
Yes.
In reading this, it allowed me to feel free in a sense, because you never know what each of us are dealing with. And sometimes when you pick up a book like this, you're like, oh my God, first of all, let me find her because she's telling my business.
Right.
You know, so I really appreciate you for writing something that's so significant, especially now. You know, we like to celebrate women in March, or we like to celebrate them Mother's Day, but every month, every day, every moment that we have, we should be imparting wisdom into women. And this book speaks to a place of wisdom. It's transparent, it's honest, it's safe. There's nothing that you wrote in here that someone anywhere in the world can pick it up and identify with it, whether it's chapter 1 or chapter 8 or chapter 5 or whatever. So I really appreciate you for opening your safe space, because you could have kept this to yourself, but then we wouldn't have, and the women coming behind us wouldn't have healed from hearing this. So I humbly appreciate you for that.
Thank you. And I would just like to add that, you know, once I finished the book and got where I wanted it, and we were getting ready to take it to publishing, Indie Season Publishing. They were I was very honored to know that they were willing to publish it for me. But the very first copy went to Minister Vill's husband, because she was sensitive to the fact that, you know, this book was going to be out. She knew that there were people who knew them personally. So although you all read the book, you don't know the characters, but the people, you know, around in their circle, when they read the book, they're going to be able to say, oh, I know who she is. Oh, I know who he is. So, you know, I didn't want him to be caught off guard with it. And I actually gave him time to read it prior to us releasing it, because I was sensitive to, you know, how some people might, I was just very sensitive to how he might feel with some of the things that I had shared. And
wow.
How did
I
he
was gonna
take
say,
that?
honestly, he read the book, and the first conversation I had with him, he said, "It's a good book," and he said, "But boy, that man in there," you know, he sort of said it like that. He was like, he was like, "There's nothing in here good about this man," and so, you know, I sort of lightened it up, and I said, "Well, no, there were some good things in there about him."
Mm-hmm.
But there were just also some things in there about him that were broken.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said that, he never spoke about it again. He never said anything to me, you know, about it. You know, when the book was released and it was all over social media and stuff, he never called me up and said, "How dare you?"
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's because I respected him enough to let him read the copy before it went out to anybody else. And this is what he said to me. He said, "I know you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wrote it, I know you wrote what was true." So even though some of it might have been hard for him to read, he knew that I was writing from a place of compassion. And he also knew that I was writing from a place of love and something that I was really passionate about needing to share. So I think that made a tremendous difference.
Wow. That's, oh, I told y'all she was a lady. I told you, oh my goodness. Listen, Miss Vanessa, please tell them how they can get an autographed copy, how they can get copies in general. Of course, you know, you can get it from more books, but she is all over with this book, and we are not going to not share every place that your book is published and located. So tell them how they can get a copy of that.
Well, they could get it from Amazon online, Books A Million online. In Dothan, it's at 22nd and Charles. It's actually there in the store. They can purchase it there in Dothan, Alabama. Of course, my website, VanessaRTracy.com. They can go there and order the book, and they'll actually get an autographed copy. I hated when COVID hit. I hated that because I was just getting out into my meet and greets, and I was enjoying meeting the people and signing the book, and you know, just sort of being in that space with the people. But you know, at least you can still get the autographed copy. Mm-hmm. And once my team says, you know what, Vanessa, you've had your booster shot now, things are clearing up just a little bit, we think you can sort of venture out some. You know, I'll start back to doing those meet and greets again, but definitely Amazon, Moore's Books, my website, VanessaRTracy.com.
I think that would be awesome. I love it.
We're going to make sure that everybody around you has their booster. We're all vaccinated, and we're going to get to Georgia, and we don't have no problem in anything. So you bring the books, you bring your team, you bring your pen, and we will bring the food, and we will make sure that we do the mask on, of course, and we will take off our mask so we can eat.
Oh, I see that here.
Yes, hi, Melody.
Hey, Melody.
We love her. We fell in love with her, and we fell in love with you. You guys got it going on in Alabama.
You know, and I would also like to say my management, Tony Jenkins Entertainment, you know, you can also reach out to her. Just so thankful to have such an awesome team around me, and thankful for the platform, Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Am I back?
Yes, you're
back. You know, just so thankful to that platform to be able to push the things that I'm very passionate about. And thank everyone for watching the show on Saturdays. And I hope I don't disappoint you guys.
No, you don't.
We love watching you.
No.
You never disappoint.
Absolutely.
Love watching the show. And we, like I said, we're trying to get you to Savannah. Maybe you can find some Love and Marriage Savannah. Fort Whitworth, something.
Right.
Absolutely.
Seriously, we love the relationship that you have with your daughter. See, people watch shows for different reasons. You know, some people are watching it just because they like drama, and if it's no drama, they don't want to watch it. But I love the evolution of Melanie. I love your relationship with her, and you are a true grandma. You don't play about your grandma.
Right.
My mom was watching it and she said, see, that's me right there. I don't care what y'all do with y'all life, just don't mess with my grandbabies. So we love that. Again, thank you everybody for coming out. Thank you so much, First Lady Stephanie, pretty self.
Yeah, thank you.
And see, now I got to get on y'all team. I got to find me some cheetahs, some leopards, some something.
You got to do it.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, I was like, oh, okay. I'm trying to be
See,
all
we didn't even plan this. We were twins.
And this
By
is what
accident.
I was looking at.
trying to represent for more books, and I'm missing out on all that. So,
Right. I was like, wow, I'm just excited. Everybody all accessorized. Because I have a necklace I need to send to you as well.
well, see, I knew Miss Tracy was gonna come with it because she has. Speaking of shouting out to Tony, Tony is awesome. I've never met her, but behind the scenes, she is handling things. So you have a great team behind the scenes. She is handling things. But I said, no, I'm looking at these photos and she gonna have some lipstick and she gonna do something. They true Southern belles. I said, no. Let's get it all together. But everybody, please, thank you so much, Comia. I know you are on the road. Comia came back from Atlanta at like the wee hours of this morning.
Yes.
She was like, oh, I can be there. Yeah, so she actually was closer to you.
Right.
But I appreciate her for coming on. Also, Dr. Jackie was supposed to be here with us tonight, but she had to travel, and her, with the airline situation, she could not control where she would be because she was trying to log on from somewhere. She said, I think I'm going to be in this city. And I'm like, it's okay. We will let Miss Vanessa know that you love her and you would have been here tonight, clapping back and saying, yes, y'all out there, make sure you get this book. We appreciate you. We're gonna have to bring you back, Miss Vanessa.
I would love to.
Yes, we're gonna have to, because we didn't make it to part 2. So we can talk about part 2 after they read the book. Then we'll bring some of them on where they can give you some of their real live feedback. What you think?
That would be awesome.
I think that would be perfect.
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
That would be perfect. But we're going to work on getting she and Melody to Savannah.
Yes.
Cool.
Have you ever been this far?
We can come to anytime she want to come.
You know what? I have never been to Savannah, but I heard it is a lovely place.
Yes.
It is.
Very lovely.
Beautiful.
Very lovely.
Okay.
And we have a mayor that will welcome you with open arms.
Yes, he will.
Yes, it's Southern hospitality when you come here. That's what we told you when we came to Mimosas with Melody. It was like, y'all to Savannah.
Yes.
It's not much different. It's not Atlanta, but I promise you, you will love it. You will have a great experience, and wherever you go, you'll be talking about. If you're not talking about our food, you'll be talking about our language, our voice. Yes, but we're not going to hold you, even though you're on Central Time, so you can go all night. But us over on this side, eyes getting heavy and everything, but we appreciate you so much. Thank you. I hope everybody out there enjoyed this segment with more books and these beautiful women doing positive things. Once again, thank you to Loman Creative Services for producing tonight's show, and we hope you all have a good night. Thank you. Say bye, ladies.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you all so much.